This is Newsroom. Hello and welcome from Johannesburg in South Africa. I'm Catherine Malan, standing in for Eben Janssen today. The show is live and broadcast from our studios in Auckland Park. We're also streaming live on YouTube with the entire show available on our YouTube channel. On the show today, we look at lowering the school-going age, a proposed amendment to the country's School Act. We look at the latest in the war against rhino poaching, and rapper musician King Milisizwe joins us later in the show. But first, Anine gives us a news update.
Good morning, I'm Anine Dormal. Let's take a look at the stories making headlines today. The National Union of Mine Workers says it is concerned about Anglo American Platinum's plans to sell some of its mines. Yesterday, Amplat CEO Chris Griffiths confirmed that the platinum producer plans on selling some of its Rustenburg and Union mines, saying several bidders are already contending for the operations. NIM says this move will only lead to massive job losses and added that the union will do everything in its power to prevent the sale. Controversial police witness Mr. X is expected to conclude his evidence this morning in the Farnham Commission of Inquiry. Yesterday, Mr. X lashed out at lawyer of the injured and arrested Marikana mine workers advocate Darlene Mpofu, saying he lacked respect. Mpofu had asked Mr. X to confirm whether he sustained an injury to the head before giving evidence and whether he suffered dizziness while testifying. The inquiry is investigating the deaths of 44 people during an unprotected strike by London mine workers in Marikana in 2012. A new state witness is expected to take the stand today in the trial of Czech fugitive Radovan Krecher and 5 others. Yesterday, one of the accused failed to arrive in court. Accused number 3, Samuel Saddam Marupeng, was involved in another court matter. The remains of some of the nearly 300 victims of the Malaysian Airlines plane downed over Ukraine will be making their way to the Netherlands. The Ukrainian separatist leader has meanwhile handed over the black boxes to Malaysian authorities. The handover of the bodies and black boxes and reports by international investigators of improved access to the wreckage of the airliner occurred against calls for broader sanctions against Russia for its support of the rebels. The bodies of the 298 victims could hold evidence of what brought the plane down on July 17th as it was flying from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur. Indian captain Mahendra Singh Dhoni has described his team's 95-run victory over England at Lord's as very special. The visitors were able to take a 1-0 series lead in the second of 5 test matches after Ishant Sharma claimed 7 wickets. It was India's first overseas victory since 2011. Players resumed at 105 for 4 in pursuit of 319 after lunch. England's batsmen capitulated in the face of India's short-pitch barrage and were bowled out for 223. India won their sole test match at the Lord's Stadium way back in 1986. Remember, these stories are available on our Facebook page. You can also follow us on Twitter at SABC Newsroom. Catherine, back to you.
Well, thank you, Anine. This year, 370 rhinos have been killed for their horns in the Kruger National Park alone. Although it seems like the park is losing the war against poachers, it recently denied reports of a rescue plan to evacuate 500 rhinos to a secret location in a bid to save the animals. To give us a bit more clarity around the story, we are now joined in Pretoria by Kruger National Park spokesperson Wanda Mukachula. Wanda, morning and welcome to Newsroom.
Good morning, ma'am.
Wanda, I want to start off. The park denied the reports of the so-called rescue plan. Is it, however, something that was being discussed?
Actually, we are not denying that a rescue plan is one of the measures that we are looking at as the organization. But what we were saying in that response is that actually, even reporting on the quantum of animals that we are looking at was a bit premature, because as management we have made a proposal to the board where we said as the basket of measures that we are putting in and trying to protect the rhinos, there is the issue of possibly looking at also moving some of the animals from the park. And this is not only premised on the issue of the security, it is also premised on the issue of ecology. Because one of the things that we have picked up in the last year or so when we were doing the latest census is that even in areas that are not affected by rhino poaching, we have not been seeing an increase in the number of rhinos, which means they have reached a saturation point. So for ecological reasons, it also makes sense that we should move some of the animals outside of the park. But then when we are looking at moving some of those animals, we must also look at the security measures and say, when we are selling, even to private owners, are we selling to private owners that are resident in areas that are relatively safer? So that, because what we're looking at creating what we call meta-populations. Meta-populations really mean that you have a whole lot of small populations that are scattered all over, but you're managing them as one population. And actually that has been key to the success of the return of the rhino populations in this country, in that actually in Kruger, in the 1960s, the rhinos were extinct. But we did get a seed, population that came from Tlhotlo and Mfolozi of about 350. It took about 30 years, actually, for that 350 to reach 1,000, and another 10 years for them to reach 2,000. And then the next 10 years, they exploded to the estimated figure that we had in the last peer-reviewed census of 2010 that showed us that we had between 8,500 and 12,000 rhinos. So we are saying that having had such a wonderful success, we must not lose the momentum. Any measure that we can put in place to try and protect our rhinos is very vital. And as I indicated earlier, of course, selling to private reserves is also one of the options that we have put in front of the board. The board is looking at having that discussion sometime soon and giving its final response possibly to management.
I wonder, what is the current situation regarding rhino numbers in the park? How many have we lost so far this year?
This year, we have lost, I think, about 360 rhinos so far in the park, which is something that is worrying, having arrested about 61 people. So what we are saying is that the numbers, even though the percentage a relative year on year has been going down, but the numbers continue to grow that we are losing in the park. And this is something that we really must come with very creative measures of ensuring that we can combat. Because one of the realities that we are facing as the Kruger National Park is that the poachers are part of syndicates, and they are coming from outside the park where we do not have jurisdiction. So as much as, we are doing all that we can to protect the animals within the park, for every poacher that we remove, send to jail, there's about 20 other people that are waiting in line to be recruited by the syndicates to come into the park. So it is quite a big problem for us. So even more than just law enforcement, we need other measures to ensure that we can protect our rhinos.
Now, Wanda, there's also been reports suggesting infighting within sandparks. Could you just clarify these reports to us?
Well, we do not know where these rumors are emanating from, but we can only speculate that with the change of leadership a few months ago at Sandparks, it was bound to happen that people would start questioning whether will things still the same, will there be any changes. But the reality on the ground, though, is that the organization is operating as it always has been. In that report, actually, in the Sunday Times, they even indicated that this is one of the government institutions that continuously gets a clean audit on an annual basis. And that is one of the key objectives that we have as management. We do not have time to be, engaging in infighting because the organization has not changed. Yes, there has been the departure of the CEO, but the management team that has been there, working with him, working on some of these projects, is still there, and these were collective decisions that we're making. So we don't know really where the rumors are coming from, and we can, clearly deny that there is any infighting at Sandparks.
Well, Wanda, just to end off with, quickly, Moving rhinos, it's nothing new. What other alternatives are being looked at to protecting our rhinos?
Well, indeed, moving rhinos is not just the alternative, and it's not a new alternative because we have been doing it. We have also looked at technological measures of assisting with this anti-rhino poaching campaign that we are forging ahead with. And so much that actually earlier in the year we received a windfall of about 250 million rand donation from the William G. Buffett Foundation, which is going to assist us in developing what we call an integrated protection zone, which is an area that we are going to be putting quite a lot of technological based security measures, which will be looking at protecting the population that is there. We're looking at rolling that out throughout the park and all the parks that we have that have rhinos. So we are continuing to be fundraising for those and to be petitioning anybody that can assist us in those areas. So technology is very expensive. That's what we have learned. But we think that it could be one of the key measures that could assist the country in trying to protect its rhino populations.
Well, Wanda, thank you for joining us and just clarifying those reports of 500 rhinos being moved to secret locations in the Kruger National Park. Let's now take a look at the front pages of the World this morning. Headlines this morning all focusing on the latest in the tension on the Gaza Strip, as well as the latest regarding the downing of flight MH17. The victims of MH17 are being transferred to the Netherlands, where they will be identified and then sent home. Rebels in eastern Ukraine have also handed over 2 flight data recorders from the downed plane to Malaysian experts. Then your UK sport pages this morning all focused on England's soccer captain Steven Gerrard, who has ended his international career after his side's disappointing World Cup performance. Well, with that, let's take a look at what you've been saying on social media. Please remember to send us your views at SABC Newsroom. We love your pictures, your comments, your opinions. We put them up on the show. We look at them afterwards. We put them up on our Facebook page. And it's always nice to form a discussion around that. There they are. Rhino are not safe anywhere. Killed in high-security private branch in Kenya. #Africa. There we have some beautiful pictures of our endangered wildlife species. The rhinos, 2 armed gangs killed 4 rhinos for their horns in a rural bit. Moving on, poachers are also targeting vultures as the birds, and I can't read that word, where carcasses lay. No end to the madness. There you also have a picture of my horn is not medicine. #save rhinos, #poachers. Well, let's take a break. This is Newsroom on SABC News.
Accra is a beautiful city of contradictions.
Funerals in Ghana are colorful and flamboyant. Ghana coffins are functional coffins made by specialized carpenters. These colorful objects, which have developed out of figurative palanquins, are not only coffins but considered real works of art. Each year, festivals and durbars are held in various parts of the country to celebrate the heritage of the people.
That's Kaleidoscope, Sundays 5:30 p.m. on SABC News. SABC News, we've got Africa covered.
Welcome back. You're with Newsroom on SABC News. Government wants children in the country to start school at the age of 5, 2 years younger than at present. Earlier this month, Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga announced that government intended in amending the South African Schools Act, which at present makes it compulsory for children aged 7 to 15 to attend school. Presenting her 2014-15 budget before the National Assembly in Cape Town, Motshekga said a legislative review to make schooling compulsory for children aged 5 to 15 was on the cards. We are joined today by Acting Deputy Director General of Basic Education, Marie Lewis Samuels, and from the Lobby Group Equal Education Co-Head, Tsepo Motsepe. Guys, welcome to Newsroom.
Thank you.
Marie, you're from the Department of Basic Education. I just want to start off with, can you briefly explain to us how the school system will work if kids are this young going to school?
Thanks very much. Just to let you know that currently the age of admission for children into the schooling system is 5 turning 6. And therefore for the grade R, it is 4 turning 5. So that is the current situation. The compulsory age, however, is 7 years. So in many of the more affluent schools, children go to school later than in poorer communities. And so by the Department of Education making it compulsory, it would therefore attempt to regularize the system that we have at the moment, so that all children would be able to benefit not only from a curriculum, but more particularly the kind of stimulation that is necessary for them. So there's not going to be a major shift. The shift is about making it compulsory, whereas at the moment it's not compulsory for 5-year-olds to be at school. It will be compulsory in the future.
Now, just to clarify, will this mean 2 extra preschool years?
Not for all the children. Where children don't need to have an extra year, they do not need to have an extra year. If they're well stimulated at home, etc., that will be fine. They would then be able to move into the system in the same way as the rest of the children at the moment. But I really think that it's important that the extra year is not only seen as a Department of Education's responsibility, it's shared with the Department of Social Development. And as the Department of Education, we're responsible for the curriculum within the early years. And so what we are also going to regularize is what kind of program is being offered in the ECD centers as we speak.
Now, Tsepo, you're from Equal Education. Can you just let us in on your stance and your opinion on this matter?
Well, when we first saw this, we had initially said, well, this is one of the greatest shifts that the department can come up with, because if you look at people that started schooling in 2000, finishing matric last year, there was 435,000 learners who dropped out of the system, and our assumption around those numbers as well is that some of these learners did not have a good ECD background. Where they, as the Deputy DG is saying, that they're not well stimulated, because a lot of the dropouts occur in grade 5, that's in primary. And in most cases, most of these learners are not well stimulated, or they can't grasp, basic numeracy and literacy. So we're hoping that this system will assist in decreasing the number of dropouts, but increasing the number of learners that stay within the system.
Many critics I read this morning says that it's quality versus quantity. Would adding another year really add so much more benefit to our current schooling system?
Our children need to be in school, and currently at the rate at which the dropout rate is increasing every year, if you look at the 12-year cycle, the dropout rate has been enormous. And I was hoping that if this system is shared between the Department of Social Welfare and the DBE, one of them would say, look, I'm taking it upon myself, with your support, of course, to make sure that we keep our kids in school. Because we can't sustain, if you look at the kids in grade 10, when it comes to basic numeracy and literacy, they struggle. And it's not because the schooling system is not supportive. They did not have an opportunity, and the majority of these kids are Black African children who, when they go to ECD centers, most of the ECD centers that we have around the country, 23,000 that were surveyed in 2000, most of them did not have a set curriculum. Most of them were, caregivers, people that decided, to curb unemployment by taking care of kids while the mom or dad is away. And there is no type of learning that's taking place. It's food there and sleep, and that's what happens for the rest of the year. By the time the child goes to school at the appropriate age, they don't have the basic, whereas middle-class parents can afford to give their children, the basic skills for them to succeed within the system. And we know that these are the kids that will finish the 12th year of schooling, and they will make it to become whatever they want to be later in life. And you'll have these number of dropouts. One of the factors is not having sufficient ECD support.
What would the emotional impact be on the 5-year-old, though? Would there be any emotional impact? Would they be going to school that young?
I think, in the same way as I mentioned earlier, it's not only about going to school, it's about what is the program that is being offered within the schooling sector. And at the moment, the kind of infrastructure that we have within schools is really placing the grade R learners and any younger learners in a separate grade R unit at the school. So not all of the children are located within a school, but they are on the school premises. And I think, as Tsepo has indicated, the program that has been offered is very critical, as well as the competence of the teacher. And that has been the kind of thrust that we in education have been following for the past couple of years. So, since 2000 to now, there are many more practitioners who are qualified, and qualified at a level that we think enables them to offer a stimulating program rather than just a care program and keeping children within an environment.
That's my next question. Tsepo, teachers' unions have long bemoaned that many grade R teachers are unqualified, underpaid, etc., and are more child-minded rather than teachers. What's your opinion on that? Is this getting better?
Well, we're hoping that universities will come to the fore here. ECD centers around institutions of higher learning where they offer education will come to the fore and say, we have programs that we would like to assist government to offer to grade R teachers. But at the same time, how the whole grade R system is structured it's quite unequal, especially when it comes to qualifications. It's what was inherited, I assume, from the apartheid era. And there hasn't been a huge focus, and we're happy that now the talk is no longer on matric, but now the talk is around the foundation where we need to be starting, where we need to be giving support to our children. We're hoping that universities, in this case, universities will come out and say, here's a program that we have, and this is how we would like to assist, because that's where the learning and teaching needs to take place, particularly to get good qualified people.
Do you have an opinion on that?
Yes, Tsepo is rightfully indicating that initially the qualification level for, the grade R practitioners was at equivalent to a grade 12. But since, we are wanting it to be compulsory, the bar has been lifted, and the minimum requirement at the moment for the grade R practitioners is the same as the rest of the education system. So at the moment, we are working hard at making sure that there are more universities that would be able to upgrade the qualification level of practitioners. And so the minimum requirement for employment for grade R will be level 6 on the National Qualifications Framework, which, as I say, is equivalent to what it is that we have in the rest of the education system. So the upgrading of the qualifications for the practitioners is going to be a challenge, because at the moment we only have 4 higher education institutions that are accredited to offer the new qualification that we have. And hopefully, as Tsepo has indicated, if more of the universities are able to be accredited, it would be, a much easier way for us to ensure that these practitioners get the minimum qualification.
Is the system being used anywhere else in the world? Which countries? And are we following anybody's example of where it's worked?
Look, there was a lot of research done in terms of, what is the age of admission, what is the kind of program that has been offered, and so on. So, for example, if you take what happens in the UK, 4-year-olds are expected to go to school. But I think that, it's not as much as what it is that is happening in other countries, but it's more about what is it that our children need. And our children need a much more solid foundation than what they are getting at the moment.
Tsepo, just what would you say are the major challenges facing regarding education in the country at the moment?
Well, one of the things that we have been leading in the country currently, especially with the DBE, is the issue of school infrastructure. We believe that school infrastructure is critical to the provision of education, getting the right number of learners in the classroom. But also, we also believe that good quality teaching needs to take place within the classroom. So with those two, we're hoping currently that with the minimum norms and standards being law, we're hoping that provincial departments will submit their plans by the 29th of November. And moving forward, we'll then deal with the issue of school infrastructure, especially around rural areas, the Eastern Cape, Limpopo, KZN. We know the conditions there, and we can't expect our learners to continue learning under those conditions.
Marie, anything you'd like to add?
No, just to emphasize, I think the role that the teacher plays within the context of learning and teaching, as well as the home situation. So there needs to be real close collaboration between schools as well as homes, and then, of course, the learners themselves. And agencies working together, I think we will be able to achieve the kind of goal that we've set ourselves in the country.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us this morning. The winter initiation period has come to an end, and countrywide the death toll currently stands at 35, despite efforts and commitment by a ministerial task team's declaration of zero death tolerance for 2014. Only one death was reported in Limpopo. The Department of Traditional Affairs and Provincial House of Traditional Leaders, as well as the Department of Health, teamed together to monitor and closely watch the operations of initiation schools. In Limpopo, the tradition of initiation is deeply entrenched within communities. Chairperson of Provincial Task Team on Initiation Schools, Chief Malisela Dekale, joins us from our Polokwane studio. Morning, Chief Dekale.
Hi, how are you?
Welcome to Newsroom. Chief, I would just like to start off, why are we still having deaths in initiation schools despite the zero tolerance campaign this year?
Let me greet your listeners and you, Ceci. There are problems concerning initiation schools and the way in which some people treat it, and we are aware that some of the people take it to be business-like, and we are not happy about that.
You expressed satisfaction with how the period went. What did you do right that the rest of the country can learn from you?
We are trying by all means to control and to check as to whether our people are cooperating, and we try to urge them from the first day that we cooperate and work together so that we can have a clean slate of the initiation period.
Chief Dekale, an 11-year-old boy died at an initiation school in Limpopo. What is the right age to go for initiation?
No, the boy was 17 years old. The age that we are requiring in the province is 12 years. But this one died at the age of 17. He was rightly admitted at that initiation school. But I must say, some of the things do happen because we don't control life. We only control the measures so that our people can have a good passage to manhood.
The question was, you remember that I suggested it. I didn't want you to...
He's starting to answer, I think. You can't stop him. Yes, what do you want to say, Mr. X? Councillor put to you.
You remember that I asserted that yesterday?
We are Kumbulandi talent is on.
And if I didn't go for that,
Don't understand what Mr. Mpofu is saying, Mr. Chairman. Mpofu is trying to smear the police with this thing. The police are not guilty of this thing of Marikana. They're innocent.
Mr. X, never mind the speech that Mr. Mpofu made earlier. He's now finally cut to the chase, as he put it. The question he asked you was didn't deal with that topic. What he said to you was that what you had said about being a member of the committee on the 10th was not correct.
Uthi imbuzo wakhe le ntetho yakho yokokuba ubulilungu lalaba bahlanu nge-10 akuyonyani uthini apho? I was, Mr. Chairman, I was.
Okay, well, let me just indulge you with what the chairperson calls a speech, which I was assisting you to put your evidence in perspective about.
Ibiza njengengxoxo ispeech umgcini sihlalo bendizama nje ukuba ndichazele okokuba ndijonge phi nandizaphi ngemibuzo.
Is meant to show exactly what you're saying. Your mission, you seem to be very determined that your mission here is to show that the police were innocent, correct?
Abonisa mhlekazi okokuba wena ufuna ukwenza isiqiniseko nyano okokuba amapolisa kule nto lena amsulwa wana njalo.
Right?
Kunjalo.
Andikuva tata ndiphinde.
Just repeat the question. I don't understand you clearly.
Your main mission for coming here is to demonstrate that the police were innocent, as you have said about 10 times in the past.
Injongo yakho yokuza kule commission mhlekazi ukuzozama ukubonisa okokuba amapolisa awanatyala njengoba usuyiphinda-phinde kaninzi lento.
Correct?
Kunjalo.
Ndithi ukuza kwam kule commission tata imayini imsulwa mandithi yonke yasemarikani ndizoyicacisa yona.
I've come to explain everything. The mine is innocent. I've come to explain it thoroughly.
Yes. Well, the so-called speech.
The mine is innocent.
And the police are innocent.
The police are also innocent.
Well, yeah, the speech, quote unquote, was meant to assist the commission to understand that that mission is mission impossible because you are unable as a person objectively to contribute anything to show whether the police are innocent or guilty. You just did not observe the relevant events for which the police are blamed by people like myself.
Ndizama ukuchaza yona lento kokuba lento uzama ukuyenza yonke lento uzama ukuyenza ayibonakali iyimpumelelo njengoba wenza zonke ezo nzame nje zokubonisa ukuba amapolisa banatha.
But that is it. Let's go back to the tent.
To me, it is clear. It's to Mr. Mpofu that it is not clear.
Okay.
Mr. X, the point Mr. Mpofu is putting to is that on your own evidence, you weren't at scene 2, the copy behind, where a number of the strikers were shot by the police. And you've admitted yesterday you can't help us about that because you weren't there. So what Mr. Mpofu is saying on that issue, as far as what we call scene 2 is concerned, you can't give evidence to us because you don't know. It's not your fault. But you weren't there.
Welcome back. You're watching Newsroom on SABC News. Let's have a look at the news-making headlines today. The National Union of Mine Workers says it's concerned about Anglo-American Platinum's plans to sell some of its mines. Yesterday, Amplats CEO Chris Griffiths confirmed that the platinum producer plans on selling some of its Rustenburg and Union mines, saying several bidders are already contending for the operations. NUM says this move will only lead to massive job losses and said the union will do everything in its power to prevent the sale. Controversial police witness Mr. X is expected to conclude his evidence this morning in the Farnham Commission of Inquiry. Yesterday, Mr. X lashed out at the lawyer of the injured and arrested Marikana mine workers, advocate Dalian Mpofu, saying he lacked respect. Mpofu had asked Mr. X to confirm whether he sustained an injury to the head before giving evidence and whether he suffered dizziness while testifying. The inquiry is investigating the deaths of 44 people during an unprotected strike by Lonmin mine workers in Marikana in 2012. A new state witness is expected to take the stand today in the trial of Czech fugitive Radovan Krecha and 5 others. Yesterday, one of the accused failed to arrive in court. Accused number 3, Samuel Saddam Morupeng, was involved in another court matter. The remains of some of the nearly 300 victims of the Malaysian Airlines plane downed over Ukraine will be making their way to the Netherlands. A Ukrainian separatist leader has meanwhile handed over the black boxes to Malaysian authorities. The handover of the bodies and black boxes and reports by international investigators of improved access to the wreckage of the airliner occurred against calls for broader sanctions against Russia for its support of the rebels. The bodies of the 298 victims could hold evidence of what brought the plane down on the 17th of July as it was flying from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur. Indian captain Mahendra Singh Dhoni has described his team's 95-run victory over England at Lord's as very special. The visitors were able to take a 1-0 series lead in the second of 5 test matches after Ishant Sharma claimed 7 wickets. It was India's first overseas victory since 2011. The hosts resumed at 105 for 4 in pursuit of 319 after lunch. England's batsmen capitulated in the face of India's short-pitch barrage and were bowled out for 223. India won their sole test match at the Lord's Stadium way back in 1986. Remember, these stories are available on our Facebook page. You can also follow us on Twitter at SABC Newsroom. Catherine, back to you.
Well, thank you, Anine. It is all too often said that people from small towns do not have the confidence to make their dreams come true by taking on the big city. Should a small town really be an obstacle, or is it merely an excuse? Today, I am joined by rapper, musician, producer, all-round entrepreneur King Milisizwe, who this year released his music video titled Inzinto. The King has been making a name for himself since early 2000s across a variety of platforms in the music industry and is living proof that a small town is the last thing that should stand in your way. He is here not only to talk about his career, but tell us more about the small town boys and girls, a movement of small town people who are ambitious go-getters no matter what. But first, let's take a sneak peek at Inzinto.
Keep on talking, what we want the walk. Tina Santisinda, Tina Santisinda, Tina Santisinda, Tina Santisinda. I just call me, let you put Pangaya, but get to mommy. Tina Santisinda, Tina Santisinda, Tina Santisinda, Tina Santisinda. I say I'm local. I got my mojo back, I'm cool, I'm calm, yeah. I cook a smuggle. What? And you know on it, really mad, I'm in trouble. Yes. And if I get him out in I'm better than you. So much at the clash,
Well, King, welcome to Newsroom. Before we get into the mission of the small town boys and girls movement, let's just first start off with your career. Can you give us a bit more background, where it all started?
Okay. King Milisizwe was born in Plettenberg Bay in a place called Konokutula. So I started doing my music in the early 2000s. So I was a dancer back then, and then I changed to I did Kwaito, and then after Kwaito I became a rapper. So... And I came to Joburg, and the rest is history. That's how it all started.
Now, what year did you come to Joburg? It's been quite a while.
Yes, I came in Joburg in 2003, and I came as a rapper, but I was in a crew called 10-111 with Section, Galeni, and Kobani Lok. And then we were managed by a summer award winner called MXO. His name is MXO. So he was our manager as well. So...
Tell us a bit more about the music video we just saw, your genre, your style. Where was this music video made?
Oh, okay. The genre is hip-hop, but I'm rapping closer. And then it's I tell stories of small town stories, and then I motivate, educate, and inspire people who are like me to go out there and go get it and dream chase, you know. So yeah.
You speak from small town experience.
Yes, as I was born from there. So everything I say, I don't forget where I come from. I always go back home like every December, and just to get not to forget myself, as like to be taken by Joburg. As they say, Joburg will swallow you. So I don't want to be swallowed by Joburg. I always go back home.
So why do you think there's this notion of being afraid of the big city, living your dreams?
I think it's TV. TV makes Joburg looks like it's this place that's like scary, and there's the wrong things that are happening, and it's not like that if you know what you came here for. So,
before, I want to touch on the small town boys and girls, but first, you've got an album coming up later this year. Can you tell us the production behind it? How's it been going?
Oh, okay. I started doing the album, I can say, a long time ago, but it's my work for the rest of my life. So I chose the best songs that I made in my life. I have been releasing mixtapes only, but now I'm only working on an album. I've worked with people like MXO, I've worked with Riot, we know him as he featured Sahara, and I worked with producers, Crystal Peter, I worked with Gift, Side Effects, he did a song for Ifani, and then yes.
Now, small town boys and girls, it's a positive movement I read for small town boys and girls. Please tell us where, when, who started it?
Okay, this thing was started in Western Cape in Plettenberg Bay. It was just an idea. So, but we came to Joburg with it, me and a friend of mine called Trevor. So we registered it, and we had a member called Conclusion Mashaba. He's my partner now. Like me and him registered the company, and then it's a movement, as you're saying, it's a movement of small town people. We're trying to get things done without the help of, or let me say, depending on maybe the government, or we're just trying to do things ourselves, like as small town people, and they're not being scared of. It's not about where you come from, it's about where you're going. So to us, it's all about that.
It's not just music. I understand there's a variety of platforms.
Yes. We into different things. We're entrepreneurs. We do T-shirts, as you're seeing. We do caps. We shoot videos for people. We print CDs. We do a lot, and we've got a. But people can go to the website for all of these things that I'm saying. There's a website. You can check everything that we do there.
We'll also be uploading the website to our Facebook page, and people can go check it out there. Just tell us a bit more about. I understand you also run a couple of initiatives, like I see a Small Change initiative and the Kids initiative.
Yes, the Small Change initiative is an initiative that we had piggy banks all around South Africa in shops and supermarkets and retailers. So what happened was we had these piggy banks, and then people were donating change, whatever change that you have. So what we did with the money, and they were there for 6 months, and then after that, we collected them and we chose a charity home. So it's what we do every 6 months. So we do that every 6 months for like every year. Like we choose a charity home that we donate the money to. So that's the Small Town Initiative.
So what does it take to be recognized as a small town boy or girl?
In a way, I believe everybody, somewhere, somehow in them. We all come from a small town. And then it just takes for you to, if you're ambitious and if you're a dream chaser and you chase your dreams, to us, you are a small town boy. It doesn't matter where you're from. In a way, we all come from a small town.
Was it difficult at first, moving from a small town to Johannesburg? Just take us back to those emotions that you had to go through.
I came with my friends, so it wasn't really hard, and we had a plan. As we spoke about this when we were back at home. So we had a plan on this is what we're going to do when you get to Joburg, and we're going to focus on it. We told ourselves that we're not going to be influenced by anyone or any wrong things that are happening there. We're just here to do a mission as we are sent by small town people. Our mission is like we were sent. Like we were at war, we were sent by our soldiers. Then I must go back home.
Just to end off quickly, where can people become involved with small town boys and girls, and how can they get hold of your music as well?
Oh, okay. For that, I can tell people to go on www.stvng.com. They will get the full information there, and then they can ask us any questions, and then they can follow us on Twitter. It's STVNG44, and they can like our page on On Facebook, it's called STBNG also. So you can ask us any question you want to ask there. We will tell you everything, how people can be involved, and then on our initiatives, what are we doing.
And they'll be able to get hold of your music as well.
No, your music, we're going to have the music on iTunes on end of September. We're going to have the music on iTunes, but now I've just released an EP, so they can even check it on SoundCloud. Just type King Melisses on SoundCloud and Reverb Nation. They can check me out there.
Well, King
and YouTube as well.
Thank you so much for joining us on Newsroom today. We'll be uploading all of the links he just spoke about on our Facebook page. You can go view it there. Then let's just take a look at what you've been saying on social media this morning. Please remember to send us your views at SABC Newsroom. All good things come to an end. Hashtag Steven Gerrard is a true legend, a born leader and a great player who England will miss massively. Sad to see a guy who was proud to wear the England shirt quit the team. Time to go, I guess. Hashtag Steven Gerrard. England will miss Steven Gerrard. He is a true inspiration, but all the better for Liverpool FC. Difficult but right decision. Steven Gerrard retires from English duties. Wayne Rooney ready to be the new captain? Steven Gerrard retires from international football after disappointing at World Cup. I wish Indian athletes had the same accountability. Well, that's one person's opinion. There you have a beautiful picture of Steven Gerrard, who has retired from international soccer, announced yesterday. Now, the Sariti Commission of Inquiry will at a later stage decide on whether arms deal critic and losing bidder Dr. Richard Young's testimony was needed. Young failed to appear before the Arms Procurement Commission. He, who is regarded as one of the major whistleblowers in 1999 multi-billion rand arms deal, was supposed to begin his testimony yesterday. The Commission was expected to kickstart the second phase, where it will investigate allegations of fraud and corruption in the deal. Our SABC reporter Njanji Choke joins us in studio today. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning.
Now, Njanji, let's just start off. The second phase of the inquiry did not get off to a good start. What happened and what is the latest?
Okay, what we know is that Dr. Richard Young couldn't pitch yesterday. Reasons were given. There was a letter that was submitted from his law firm as well as from his doctor. He said that he has just conducted an eye surgery, so he's unable to come through and testify. But a range of other reasons were also given. He still wants to cross-examine two other witnesses that appeared in March already. He still wants more than 1,000 documents that he still wants to go through. So it remains to be seen. It's very uncertain at this stage if whether or not Dr. Richard Young will ever give testimony. You know that he's one of the key whistleblowers, so his testimony is very important, but it remains to be seen.
That was my next question. How much weight does his testimony hold, and do you think he will ever testify?
It carries a lot of weight indeed, because you'll recall that last week you had the former President Thabo Mbeki saying the people with allegations, the people who have made those bribery and corruption allegations, this is their time to prove, to put the proof on the table. The Commission of Inquiry is giving them that chance. So Dr. Richard Young, as one of the losing bidders in the Corvettes Combat Suites contract, is one of the key stakeholders. So his evidence is very important. But as we heard yesterday, his doctor saying that he has conducted an eye surgery, so he's unable to go through. If he does indeed manage to make it through, we are looking at Richard Young coming through only in October. And we know that this will be a month just before the term of this commission could come to an end.
Now, constitutional law expert Shadrach Gutta says there haven't been enough facts before the Sariti Commission of Inquiry supporting allegations of mismanagement or corruption on the arms deal. What is your take, since you've been following the proceedings from the start?
Yeah, as a journalist, it's very difficult to give a personal opinion. From the evidence that we have at the Sariti Commission, books have been written about this arms deal, that such a particular person took so much. But we saw last week the former president distinguishing between a bribe and commission, going as far as explaining what constitutes a bribe, what constitutes a commission. It's normal business practice for consultants to be paid, that commission. It becomes a bribe if the money changes hands with politicians in order to influence the awarding of contracts. So it's very difficult indeed, but those allegations that we have seen, they've come through in books, they've been made in newspapers. What the Seriti Commission now is saying with the second phase is saying, okay, come through and give us the proof, put the proof on the table.
Now, the spotlight will now fall on Patricia de Lille, for she is the one who broke the news as a member of Parliament. Correct? How are we going forward from this?
Yeah, Patricia de Lille, you'll recall that the Lille dossier that she compiled, she is also one of the key people that pushed for a judicial commission of inquiry. We are going to hear her testimony as from Thursday this week, so it will be interesting to see if she will come through and what sort of evidence, what sort of proof will she give to the Seriti Commission.
Just with regards to from Thursday onwards, what other whistleblowers are we expecting and what will be going on from then?
Yeah, besides Patricia de Lille, we're going to see the three arms deal critics, people like Andrew Feinstein, who is a former ANC MP, people like Henny van Vuren, Paul Holden, Dr. Woods, as well as a range of other whistleblowers that have been really making a lot of noise about these allegations of bribery and corruption.
Well, Njanji, thank you so much for joining us today, keeping us up to date on the Seriti Commission of Inquiry, which is set to resume on Thursday. Newsroom is broadcast every weekday morning between 9 and 10 a.m. from our studios in Johannesburg, South Africa. The show repeats at 2 in the afternoon with a rebroadcast at 5 a.m. the following morning. We're also live on YouTube at that time with the entire show available on our YouTube channel. This is SABC News. You've been watching Newsroom, where we love it in the morning.
Keep on talking, what we want the walk. Tina Sentizinda, Tina Sentizinda, Tina Sentizinda, Tina Sentizinda. I told you, let you put Pangaya, Bobetu Bomi. Tina Sentizinda, Tina Sentizinda, Tina Sentizinda, Tina Sentizinda. I say I'm local. I got my motor back, I'm cool, I'm calm, yeah. I cook a smoke. What? And you know on it really matter, I'm in trouble. Yes.
Gatesville Medical Centre is the jewel in the crown of the Melbourne Hospital Group.
To start Gatesville Medical Centre, actually, one has to go back to 1987, when I was approached by a big conglomerate to purchase a piece of land that I had owned in Gatesville. And on inquiry, when I asked them what they wanted to do with the piece of land, they said to me they wanted to put up a private hospital. That's when I thought, well, if they could put up a private hospital, why couldn't I then develop a private hospital? So that's where actually, in 87, I decided that I'm going to pursue the development of a private hospital. The hospital is developed basically for the community in the Cape Flats. As we are all aware, during the apartheid era, people in this area were neglected as far as healthcare facilities is concerned. And so we took into consideration the vast population that lives in and around Gatesville, Rylands, Ponthieu, Guguletu. So the hospital was developed
for the people in the Cape Flats.
Ibrahim Barat, its MD, has been a pioneering and successful business person. He was born and raised in Roodepoort in the Old Transvaal and can claim to have received his political education under one of the prominent political leaders of the time. As a student of Ahmad Timmel, Ibrahim was detained by the security police and tortured while being interrogated.
When I was detained by the security police, I recall the incident that actually led to our arrest is when we organized the banning of the Republic festivities. And we organized and staged quite a successful banning of the festivities. And the authorities were head on to try and establish who the organizers of the boycott were. And this led to